Okay, all right. So in today's lesson, we're going to go toward the final frontier, which are literal equations. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, all right. So here we are with literal equations. So you might want to write this down, all right? So literal equations. So what are we talking about here? So what are we talking about here? By the way, the computer is really slow today. So what we're talking about here today is if I were to give you something like this, okay? All right, let me give you an example first. So if I were to show you an example where, by the way, again, the computer is really slow. If I were to show you something like this, right? Let's see, let me think of something just very, very simple, right? If I say A is equal to B plus C, and I say, you know what, actually, I don't want to know what A stands for, right? Because here A stands for B plus C. I want to know what C stands for. So in other words, the wording sounds something like this. Can you solve for C using A and B, right? Because here we have A, it's defined for you, right? What is A? A is B plus C, whatever that is. Could be a number, right? Could be items, right? Doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is, hey, look, I'm gonna switch it around and I want the letter C to be solved for, meaning your solution, right, is going to have C in it. So the question is something like this. Well, if I were to solve for C, what would it look like, right? Well, here's what it would look like. You would have to take B away, right? Because again, remember equations, one letter, right, equaling to an answer. So I want to get rid of whatever is closest to C, which is B. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to subtract B. Now, the thing that is very strange for you guys doing this the first time around is that, like, okay, so this cancels out and I could bring down the C. And that's fine, right? I got the letter that I want by itself. But a lot of you are going to, at least for the next 10 minutes, might struggle with the idea, like, wait, so there's nothing to do here? And you're right, there's really nothing to do here because these are numbers. You know what I'm saying? If this were an equation with numbers, you would do A minus B, like 10 minus 5, right? You would know that the answer is 5. Here, all you're left with is this. That's a literal equation. In other words, we've done so many equations that at last, we've gone so abstract with equations that now we're not even dealing with numbers anymore. We're just moving letters around. And the question for the next 2 days is, are you skillful enough with equations that you could just move them around like that? So for example, if I ask you to solve for B, would you be able to solve for B? Okay, things like that, all right? So yeah, that's what the next 2 days are, okay? So again, we're gonna spend 2 days on this because typically students struggle with this at first, okay? Because they're just not used to not dealing with numbers. Now, let's look at an example. All right, so here we have a square, right? And let's say the perimeter is 4 times the sides. No, it's not let's say, it is, right? So let's say the perimeter is 4 times the side. So if I were to tell you, hey, if I were to solve for the variable s, what would that look like? Okay, I can't even write right now. Hold on. Right? If I were to solve for s, so watch this. So here we got the equation, right? The perimeter is 4 times the sides. Nothing new here. It's not a strange formula for you. So we want to solve for s. So let me do some magic here. I'm gonna highlight this part. All right. So that's what we're solving for, right? So what does that mean? Well, that means I need to get rid of the 4 that's right next to it, right? Remember, at the end, we want s to be by itself. So how do I do that? All right, this is 4 times s, right? So what's the opposite of multiplication? Yep, division, right? So we're just going to divide both sides by 4, okay? Now, by the way, it isn't always the case that literal equations have only letters in it. In this case, you actually have 2 letters, okay? Which is the point is this, that if you Because look at this equation, examine this equation. If I say, right, the perimeter is 8 and the formula is 4 times the side, you see how you have two numbers here but only one letter? That means there's something for you to solve, right? So in the old days, like last week, that's how you would solve it, right? You have an answer. The problem is once in an equation, and you should probably know this for, like, you know, all eternity, that once an equation has more than one letter, so here we only have S, right? Once we have more than two letters, in this case S and P, there's nothing to solve for. Like there's no quote unquote answer to solve for. So here all we're left with is just moving around that number or letters. So here with P over 4, that's it. All right, that's the solution. Okay, and that's all you can do. Okay, so don't scratch your head into ribbons because you have to. You keep thinking that there's a quote unquote answer out there somewhere. Sometimes there just isn't. All right, and those are called literal equations. Okay, all right. Let's try another example. So here, right, we have a rectangle. Now, the perimeter of a rectangle, right, is the width plus the width plus the length, right? So in other words, the perimeter, if you combine like terms, right, that's 2W, right? 2 times the width and combine that with double the length, right? Nothing crazy. Now, if I were to say, hey, look, I don't care about the letter P, right? I don't care about the perimeter. I just want you to solve for the letter L, for one of the lengths, right? What will you do? Same thing, right? Now, this is 2L, so we're going to leave this alone because the thing that's further away is actually the 2W. So I'm going to rewrite this. Hold on, let me get the lights. So that means, right, we're going to have to subtract 2W from both sides first. Okay, again, if you don't get this the first time, it's okay, all right? Because we're going to do this one more day tomorrow, and then with a video that's not for me, from YU, all right? It's pretty good, it's pretty good. And then the other way is for you to just get some practice in Delta Math, and then the third thing is obviously find me for extra help. All right, so here I got 2L. I'm just going to bring that down. Here, we got P minus 2W. Remember, there's nothing we can do. This is, remember, if we were to combine like terms, there's nothing we can do here, right? They're not in the same family, right? Now, so far so good. So this is step 1, right? What's step 2? Look, I don't want 2L. I don't want half an L. I don't want L squared. I don't want a square root of L. What do I just want? Yeah, I just want L, right? So how do I get rid of this 2 times L? That's right, you divide on both sides. Now careful here. Don't just write the division here. You're dividing this entire expression by 2. So that's what you should be writing. So what's step 2? These cancels out. I'm left with L, and then it's P minus 2W over 2. Now, warning, if you want to write this like flat out without the fractional part, you have to write, you cannot write it like this. You can't write it like this, especially, I guess, on Delta Math. That's not a true, this statement right here is not the same as this statement. So how do you do this? You put a parentheses around it, okay? So actually, you know, you're gonna run into this on Delta Math because you can't really type in fractions on Delta Math. So you can do this, or especially on Delta Math, you have to write it like this, with a slash, like that, okay? One or the other is acceptable, right? But you can't even type in the division sign in Delta Math, actually. So this alone, I think is the only way you can enter it into Delta Math. Okay, now, let's take it another, let's kick this up another notch. So now, one of the things you will see most on the Regents is that you're going to have questions that look like this. They're going to use real-life equations for you to manipulate, okay? So here we have a Celsius to Fahrenheit equation. So how do you solve for Celsius, right? So here we want to solve for Celsius. So again, I'm going to highlight what I want the most, right? I want this, right? By the way, if it helps you to use a highlighter on a test, I think you can use a highlighter on a test. Like, no one's gonna protest. Okay, so let's solve this, all right? So let's take it step by step. So one is I'm going to subtract 32 from both sides because I gotta leave this alone right now, right? So I'm gonna subtract, so that cancels out. So here I got f minus 32, 9c over 5. Now look at the next part, right? Here I got the division by 5, so I gotta take care of that first. Don't divide it by 9 yet, because this bar covers 9 and c, so that means you gotta take care of the 5 first. So I'm gonna multiply both sides by 5. Now watch this, right? You see that? I gotta use the parentheses because the 5 is multiplying this whole expression. So I'm gonna cancel out. Now I'm not gonna distribute, okay? Because if I were to show you the formula from like this, you will see that they actually don't even distribute. Okay, I don't think so. All right. Now let's see. Okay, right? So far so good, right? I moved it, canceled out. Last stop, divided both sides by 9. So these cancels out, so there you go. C, right? I got the letter by itself, right? So mission accomplished. And then I'm just gonna rewrite this whole thing. What's going on here? All right, my computer is really bad today. I might have to restart. Okay, all right, I'm just gonna rewrite the whole thing. 5, and then f minus 32 over 9, and that's it. That's it. Okay, so all right, now I got some REGENTS questions for you, so why don't you try these? All right, do 9 and 8 right now. Do 9 and 8, press pause, and then when you come back I'm gonna just show you the answers, okay? All right, if it's really tough, I'll go over with you, okay? All right, press pause right now. Okay, all right, so there are your two answers. One, you gotta be careful when you add 2 on both sides. You're not adding it to 180, you're certainly not adding it to just s. All right, you're adding it to both, so that's why the expression at the end looks something like this. Okay, the second one, this is the answer, but you gotta watch out because even though this matches this is also a right way to write it, right? Because here you got 1/2 and then this got a parentheses. So in other words, you can kind of move this up onto the numerator, all right? This third one, no, okay? So don't do that. Okay, all right, what's next? All right, I got 3, now I got 2. Okay, all right, let's do these 2. All right, 11 and 13, all right? So press pause right now, and then when you come back, I'll show you the answer. So press pause right now. Okay, all right, and we're back. Now, when I was solving these with you guys, for you guys, hold on. When I was doing that, I realized, right, this is why, look at this. This is why you have to know how to multiply by a reciprocal on both sides and then cross cancel. Because without that, this is impossible to solve. You just can't solve it. Okay? So you see how here I got 5/9 times this whole expression, right? The only way you can get rid of this 5/9 and then get to the letter F is by multiplying both sides by 9 over 5, right? And then I cross cancel. So this is why I kept insisting that last week that you guys keep using reciprocals when you solve this, because you guys are very tempted, remember, to distribute. But in this case, and in this case, distributing will do nothing for you, okay? Like, you have to know how to multiply both sides by the reciprocal and then cross cancel. Okay, the only thing is the last thing here, all right? You subtract a, right? It's this whole thing subtracting a. So that's why I put a parenthesis around it, because if you don't, you would think that you have to do s minus a and then times 2 over n, but that's not true. That's not the order that we wrote, right? It's the order. That's why we have to protect the order, we have to use parentheses. Okay, again, if you have any questions, let me know about this one. Okay, otherwise I'm gonna move on. Let's go over the rest of these regions questions tomorrow. Okay, after your YU video. Okay, all right, so let's do it that way. All right, so thanks for watching. Again, any questions, let me know. All right, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
OMG, that was so good.